Hello and welcome to our podcast for English learners. Today, we're focusing on making an appointment a skill that's really useful in everyday life. Right, James?
Absolutely. Sophia, making an appointment might sound simple, but it involves some specific vocabulary and phrases that can be really helpful to know.
Let's start with one of the most important words, schedule. When you schedule an appointment, you're choosing a date and time for something. It's like setting a plan.
Right. For example, you might hear, "When would you like to schedule your appointment?" It means, "When would you like to come in?"
Another common word is available. If someone says, "I'm available on Monday," it means they're free on that day. They have time open.
Exactly. You might also ask, "Do you have any availability on Friday?" That's another way to ask if they're free on Friday.
Then there's confirm. When you confirm an appointment, you make sure it's set. So you could say, "I'd like to confirm my appointment for Tuesday."
And sometimes you might need to reschedule. That's when you change the time or date of your appointment. For example, I need to reschedule my appointment to a later date.
Perfect. Now let's move on to some phrases you might use in a conversation when booking an appointment. A common way to start is by saying, "I'd like to make an appointment."
Yes, or you could say, "Could I schedule an appointment, please?" Both of these are polite and clear.
You might also be asked, "What's the reason for the appointment?" This question is asking why you're making the appointment. Maybe it's for a checkup, a haircut, or a business meeting.
And then you might hear, "When would you like to come in?" That's asking about the time and day you prefer.
Exactly. Then you can respond with something like, "I'm available on Wednesday afternoon." It lets them know when you're free.
And if that time isn't open, they might say, "I'm sorry, we're fully booked on Wednesday." Fully booked means they don't have any free time that day.
If they're fully booked, you could ask, "Do you have any other openings?" This way, they might suggest another day or time.
Yes, and that brings us to another helpful phrase. "That works for me." If they suggest a time that's good for you, you can say, "That works for me."
Or you could say, "That sounds perfect," which is another polite way to agree to the time.
Great. So far, we've covered some of the essential words and phrases. Now, let's move into how these words might come up in a real conversation. Let's get into part 2, where we'll look at some more specific phrases and questions you might use when making an appointment. In part 1, we covered words like schedule, available, confirm, and reschedule. Now, we'll dig deeper into how these words can come up in a longer conversation.
That's right. Let's say you're calling to make a doctor's appointment. A very common way to start is by introducing yourself. You might say, "Hello, this is Zaki. I'd like to make an appointment, please."
Yes, introducing yourself first is polite and helps the person know who they're speaking to right away. Then you can follow it with, "I'd like to make an appointment."
Once you've introduced yourself, they might ask, "What's the reason for the appointment?" This question can be a little tricky if you're not used to it, but it's just asking for a simple reason. You could say, "It's for a checkup," or "I'd like to discuss some symptoms."
Exactly. Or if you're calling for something simple, like a haircut or meeting, you could say, "I'd like to come in for a haircut," or "I need to book a meeting."
Right. And then they might ask you, "When are you available?" Now, when they ask this, they're looking for a day and time that works for you. You could say something like, "I'm available on Thursday morning." Being specific is helpful here.
Yes, giving them a clear answer helps them find a good time. Sometimes, though, they'll have a set schedule, so they might ask, "Are you available at 10 a.m. on Thursday?" If that works for you, you can say, "Yes, that works."
Or if the time doesn't work, you can say, "I'm sorry, I'm not available at 10 a.m. Is there another time?" This way, they know to suggest a different time for you.
Another response you might hear is, "I'm sorry, we're fully booked." That means they don't have any openings. When you hear this, you can say, "Do you have any availability next week?" Or "What's the next available time?"
Good point. It's a polite way to find another option without sounding too demanding. And once they give you a new time, if it works for you, you can say, "That sounds perfect," or "I'll take that."
And at the end of the call, they might say, "We'll see you then." Or, "Your appointment is confirmed. This is a good time to repeat the details just to be sure." You could say, "Thank you. I'll be there on Thursday at 10 a.m."
Definitely, repeating the details at the end is a simple way to confirm everything. That way, there's no confusion.
Now let's move on to situations where you might need to change your appointment. Sometimes things come up and we need to change the time or date of an appointment.
That's true. This is where the word reschedule comes in. If you need to change your appointment, you can start with, "Hello, I have an appointment on the 2nd of October at 3 p.m., but I need to reschedule."
They might ask, "When would you like to reschedule?" or "What day works better for you?" Here, you can suggest a new date or time that suits you.
Yes, exactly. You might say, "Could we reschedule for next Tuesday at the same time?" If that works, they'll confirm the new appointment.
And if they don't have that time available, they might offer a different time, saying, "I'm sorry, that time is unavailable. How about Tuesday afternoon?"
And if that new time works for you, you can say, "That works for me," or if it doesn't, you can politely ask, "Do you have anything earlier? Or can we try a different day?"
Another good phrase to remember is follow up. Sometimes after an appointment, you might need a follow-up appointment. This means you're scheduling a second appointment to check on progress or get more information.
Right, so if the person says, "We'd like to schedule a follow-up appointment," you'll know that it means you need to come back. You might respond with, "Sure, when would be a good time?"
Perfect. I think this covers a lot of the main phrases people might hear and use when making or rescheduling appointments. In the next part, we'll put it all together and show you how this might sound in a conversation.
So far, we've covered some useful vocabulary and phrases you'll need for making and rescheduling appointments. Now, let's dive into a real conversation between two people. We'll go through it step by step, breaking down how to use these phrases in a natural way. Imagine that person is calling to make an appointment with their doctor.
Yes, this is a great way to see everything come together. Listen closely, everyone, because these phrases can be really helpful in real-life situations. Let's start the conversation.
Okay, here's how it might go. Person starts by making the call.
"Hello, this is Sam Peterson. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Lewis, please."
Hello, Sam. I'd be happy to help. What's the reason for your appointment?
"I'm calling because I'd like a general checkup."
All right, let me check Dr. Lewis's schedule. When are you available to come in?
"I'm available on Friday afternoon, if there are any openings."
Let me see. We're fully booked Friday afternoon. Would Thursday morning at 10 a.m. work for you?
"Actually, I'm not available at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Do you have any later times on Thursday?"
Sure, we have an opening at 2 p.m. on Thursday. Does that work?
"Yes, 2 p.m. on Thursday sounds perfect. Thank you."
Great. I've scheduled your appointment for Thursday at 2 p.m. Do you need any further assistance?
"No, that's all. Thank you very much."
You're welcome. We'll see you on Thursday at 2 p.m.
And that's how a typical conversation might go when scheduling an appointment. Notice how Persona was clear about their availability and responded politely when they needed a different time.
Exactly. It's important to be polite and specific when making appointments. Let's go over some of the key parts in this conversation to make sure everyone understands.
Good idea. First, Persona started by introducing themselves and clearly stating why they were calling. They said, "Hello, this is Sam Peterson. I'd like to make an appointment with Dr. Lewis, please." This simple introduction makes it easy for the receptionist to help.
Right, and the receptionist asked for the reason for the appointment. In this case, Persona said it was for a general checkup. This is a clear reason, and it's helpful because it lets the receptionist know what kind of appointment to schedule.
Then, when the receptionist asked for their availability, Persona mentioned a specific day and time, Friday afternoon. Being specific like this makes it easier for the receptionist to find a good time.
And when Friday wasn't available, the receptionist suggested another option Thursday morning at 10 a.m. This is common. If the time you want is unavailable, they might offer an alternative.
Yes, and person responded politely by saying, "I'm not available at 10 a.m. on Thursday. Do you have any later times?" This is a polite way to ask for another option without sounding too demanding.
Exactly. Then, the receptionist found a time that worked. Thursday at 2 p.m. Person agreed, saying, "Yes, 2 p.m. on Thursday sounds perfect." Thank you. It's always nice to show appreciation when someone helps you find a convenient time.
And at the end, the receptionist repeated the time and date Thursday at 2 p.m. to confirm the details. Repeating information like this is very helpful to avoid any confusion.
Definitely, and Persona thanked them again, which is a polite way to end the conversation. So, to recap, introduce yourself, state the reason for the appointment, mention when you're available, and be open to other times if needed.
That's right. Now, let's go over another example, this time focusing on rescheduling an appointment. Sometimes things come up and you need to change your plans.
Yes, rescheduling happens all the time. Let's imagine Persona has to change their Thursday appointment because of a work commitment.
Hello, this is Sam Peterson. I have an appointment on Thursday at 2 p.m. with Dr. Lewis, but I need to reschedule.
Hello, Sam. No problem. When would you like to reschedule?
Is there any availability next week on Tuesday or Wednesday?
Let me check. We have an opening on Tuesday at 11 a.m. Will that work?
Yes, 11 a.m. on Tuesday would be great. Thank you.
I've rescheduled your appointment for Tuesday at 11 a.m. Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that's all. Thanks again.
You're welcome, Sam. We'll see you next Tuesday at 11 a.m.
So, that's a typical conversation for rescheduling. Notice how Persona mentioned their current appointment and politely asked to change it.
Yes, Persona gave the specific time and date of the original appointment, which helps the receptionist find it quickly. Then they asked about availability on other days, Tuesday or Wednesday.
And the receptionist offered a new time, Tuesday at 11 a.m., which worked for Persona. They confirmed the new time and thanked the receptionist, ending on a polite note.
This kind of polite language is important, especially when you need to make changes. It shows respect for the person's time and makes the whole process smoother.
Absolutely. Being polite and clear can make a big difference, whether you're making or rescheduling an appointment.
Now that we've covered general appointments, let's look at making appointments for personal services, like a haircut or massage. When booking these, it's helpful to be specific about what service you need.
Right. For example, you might say, "I'd like to make an appointment for a haircut and style." This helps them know exactly what you want and can set the right amount of time.
Another good phrase to use is there a specific stylist or therapist available? This is common if you want to request someone specific, or if they have multiple people working there.
And when they offer a time, remember, you can always say, "Could I come a bit earlier or later?" if the time doesn't quite work for you.
Perfect. Now, let's talk about business appointments, like for a meeting. Here, it's especially important to be clear and professional. You might start with, "I'd like to schedule a meeting to discuss our project."
Yes, and if you're suggesting a time, you could say, "Are you available on Wednesday at 10 a.m.?" It's polite to ask rather than assuming they're free.
Exactly. You can also ask, "How much time should we set aside?" to make sure everyone's prepared and knows how long the meeting might take.
Good point. And if you need to change the time, it's best to say, "Would it be possible to reschedule our meeting?" This shows respect for their schedule.
Another useful phrase for business settings is, "Could we confirm the agenda?" This helps make sure everyone is prepared and knows what will be discussed.
Yes, great phrase. Now, let's cover some cultural tips. In English-speaking countries, being on time for appointments is very important. Arriving late is often seen as disrespectful.
Exactly. It's best to arrive a few minutes early to show that you respect the other person's time. If you're running late, it's polite to call or message to let them know.
Another thing is the follow-up. After a business meeting, it's common to send a short thank you note or email. You could say, "Thank you for your time today. I look forward to following up on our discussion."
That's right. And for personal services, it's polite to thank the staff at the end and leave a tip if that's part of the culture where you are.
Good reminders, Sophia. So, to wrap up, making appointments doesn't have to be difficult. The key is to be polite, specific, and respectful of the other person's time.
Exactly. We hope this podcast has helped you feel more confident with making appointments in English. Practice these phrases, and you'll sound natural in no time.
Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share it with your friends and family.
We look forward to helping you with more English skills in future episodes. Thanks again, and goodbye.